Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we are going to be taking a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination 2 Hitch Bike Rack and how it fits on our 2021 Ford F-150. The Destination is going to be, like I mentioned, a 2-bike rack. It's going to be a platform style rack, which means it holds our bike up by the tires down here at the bottom. In our case, our primary mode of contact is going to be the center mast here in the middle with these rotated padded clamps, and then 2 straps, one at the front, one at the back. So because it does make that frame contact, we do recommend against using carbon frames, or if you have a nice paint job, just avoiding that. And if you have an alternative style frame, because we can go up and down the mast a little bit, it should help, but you might have to be creative with that. And it's pretty much an entry-level rack. There's not a ton of frills to it. One of the things that we're lacking is the ability to tilt away with the bikes loaded up. So the first thing we're actually going to demonstrate is how you would go ahead and get the bike removed. Starting here with our back tire, I'm just going to press this gray button to release the strap. It's going to be the same thing here at the front. Both of these straps do have that pad which protects our tire where the strap goes across, which is a nice feature. So we'll get those out of the way. And now this part can be a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try to get my arm around my bike so that once I release the strap here by pressing that gray button again, the bike isn't just going to move on its own. And since we do have to go through, it can just be a little bit tricky to do. But once that's out, I will lift my bike up and off. I'll set this off to the side. In the meantime, you can look at the shape of the rack overall, so you can see how it kind of angles down on both sides. That's going to allow it to accommodate a couple of different wheelbases, in this case up to 48 inches. At the front here, we can take a closer look at this cradle. So it's going to be able to support a maximum tire width of 3 inches. Not a whole lot to it. And from here, we can actually get a center mast out of the way. But I do also want to show you a little bit closer about how these clamps work. So you can see that they do have the ability to rotate to accommodate some different frames. And you can see those pads on the inside as well. From here, if we want to get the center mast out of the way, which we do, we're going to loosen up this hand knob here in the front, undo that plate, and now we can fold it either way. I like to just go this way if I can, get that cradle out of the way. This one is also in the way down here. It's definitely something that you're going to run into with this rack. Once we get it down all the way, if we want to, we can actually use one of the straps on the center mast or on the cradle to secure the mast in place. We're not actually going to be driving, so I'm not going to worry about it, but in your case, you can definitely do that. Here is when you would want to lower your tailgate, and in this position, we do get almost full clearance to the tailgate, but right around there, it's actually going to end up making contact with our rack. So I wouldn't recommend sitting down on your tailgate, but if you do have a tonneau cover and you need to get things out of your back, now would be the time to do it. I will get a couple measurements at this point though, just so we can get an idea of what we're looking at as far as adding on. In this case, that's going to be from the bumper to the furthest point out, about 25.5 inches, so it's pretty compact. And since we do have that angled shape, our ground clearance is actually going to be on the sides, in this case about 23 inches. To this point right here. So it does have a nice rise, and the F-150 sits tall enough that I'm not going to be worried about any sort of ground clearance issues. And although it does not tilt away, we still do have the ability to fold it up. To do that, I need to undo this hand knob here on the side. You just unthread that. It's got a little cord there so it stays in place. And then you can fold it up. Find where those holes realign on the shank here. And we'll replace that. And we can get a couple more measurements to see how much space we've saved. So from here, from the bumper to the furthest point out, it's going to be about 13 inches. So it's really, really compact in this position. And if you'd rather drive around with it like this, you still can open up your tailgate a little bit. You'll come to about this point. So again, if you do just have some items that you're storing towards the end and you have a tonneau cover, you could open up your tailgate with it in this position, just not quite as far. From here though, we're going to look at what this is going to cover up on the back of the vehicle. So our license plate is down here in the middle. Tons of windows to see around and see through. It might be partially obstructed, but you're going to find that hard to avoid with any platform style rack. Our backup cameras are right here up at the top. Tons of room to see over the rack. You might be able to see the very top of it out of the bottom of the camera, but again, that's not going to be a huge issue. And it's so compact, it's not going to interfere with our taillights or come anywhere near our rear window. If we want to come down and take a closer look, we can. We'll look at the shank. In our case, this is going to be 1 1/4 inches. It's going to fit into our 2-inch hitch receiver using this 2-inch sleeve. It's going to be held in place by this anti-rattle bolt, and it's got a lock in the end, so it's going to be really secure, really safe. And if you have multiple vehicles, you can use it with both, whether they have a 2-inch hitch receiver or 1 1/4 inches, and it's going to be very durable. So, as far as entry-level bike racks go, I do like the Destination 2 a lot. It really doesn't have a whole lot to it, but it is safe, it is secure, and it will hold on to your bikes. They're not going to go anywhere. That being said, if you do want to upgrade a little bit and you want something that might have the capacity to add on, if you maybe are intending on adding on to your family or you go with friends or something like that, you can check out the Quad Transfer. It is going to be at a higher price point, but you're going to get more features out of it, like that tilting and the fact that you can add on to it. If you're just looking for an entry-level bike rack that's going to get you where you need to go, the Hollywood Racks Destination is definitely a really solid choice. This again was the 2-bike version of the Destination, and we saw how it fit on our 2021 Ford F-150.